Whoa. Thank you all so much. The reception for the first video in this series has honestly been overwhelming. In the span of a week, I went from 13 subscribers to over 300. I went from maybe 100 hours of watch time to over 5,000. And the numbers are still climbing. You all are amazing. And I can't believe this many people would tune into some random guy rambling about Pokemon for 3 hours. It means a lot to me that you would dedicate the time to doing so. Speaking of which, that's what this video is about. Over these past 10 days or so, I've found out that not all of my details in the video are correct. I honestly expected this, as much of the information was anecdotal, or in other words, it's what I remembered, and I know my memory isn't flawless. So, without further ado, in an effort to not provide false information, here are the bits of information that you all have corrected me on. But first, some errors that I myself have noticed. In the graphic that showed the release order by generation, I accidentally put Pokemon Blue as having been released in 1997, when it was actually released in Japan in 1996. In addition, I say that #Dexit was trending on Twitter in reference to Britain leaving the UK, which is not correct. Brexit is when Britain left the EU, which is actually quite different. Next.
I mean, the game was already fairly easy, but to somehow make it even easier, there was a built-in chance for all status moves, only used by your opponents, to miss.
Megamark LM and the Gaming Legends pointed out to me that in Generation 1, NPCs also had a chance to miss their status moves, not just in Generation 2. None of us could find hard evidence on the internet about this mechanic, but a bunch of reliable YouTubers swear it to be true, so this is where I actually ask you all if there's some data mine or interview or something online that actually definitively confirms this to be true.
Replacing the Nimbasa Gate was Join Avenue, another multiplayer venture.
#Luke says that Join Avenue is not strictly a multiplayer venture and that everything can be done in single player, albeit more slowly. My excuse for not knowing this is that, as I stated in my video, I never engaged much with the multiplayer aspect of older Pokemon games, so as soon as I found out that Join Avenue had multiplayer integration, I'd never interacted with it.
In this game, you get teleported to the camp, and instead of losing money, you lose some of the items you were holding. However, that is not the end, because wherever you blacked out, your items still remain there, but only for other people. That's this game's other multiplayer feature. When connected to the internet, you can run around the maps and rescue satchels of other players that have blacked out. When you do so, they get their items back, and you get some points for doing so, which can be redeemed later for XP candies or trade evolution items at the main hub. That also means that if you're connected to the internet and you have blacked out, someone can return your lost items back to you.
Topichu says that if you black out in Legends Arceus and then don't play for a while, your items might never get recovered. This might be true, but I think it might be due to the dwindling player base of the game, so if you're still playing it, or if you go back to playing it, try to pick up more lost satchels. Who knows, maybe you'll pick up Topichu's lost satchel. Also, if you happen to lose a satchel, be sure to connect to the online servers if possible so that others are actually able to recover your lost items.
I'd like to give this little intro video to provide some background of the mainline games as a whole.
This is my home points out that I call the video a little intro video when it's over 2 hours. I have no excuse. This was purely because when I wrote that part of the script, I was still under the delusion that the video was going to be short, and forgot to go back and remove the word little from the script. Oh well, now it's a joke, and I like it. Siege points out that my line delivery is a little flat and soft-spoken. Yeah, that's probably right. I'm still not 100% comfortable in front of a mic, and I've almost never done scripted content before. I'm still very much learning the ropes when it comes to creating content. What I don't want to develop is that over-the-top, overly enthusiastic energy that many of the popular YouTubers seem to have. While I have no issue with them having it, I want my channel to be a little more chill, like a comfortable place to have a conversation. It's the same reason why I'm so averse to putting clickbait in my titles and thumbnails. Another reason why my voice sounds this way is because my brother is in the bedroom right next door to mine, and he goes to sleep at a reasonable time. So if I'm recording lines at 1 in the morning, I have to hush myself to avoid waking him up. Recording during the daytime is not feasible for me at the current moment, and I'm pretty much only free to play video games or make content after my dinner. Hopefully you can understand.
It would not have been out of place to have something like that instead of Mr. Penis Head and the Pyroar fanboy over here.
Samuel Anthony says that Sorbert and Shieldbert are ahead of their time. Sure.
The game tells you about whether an attack versus a Pokemon that you've encountered before will be super effective, regular effective, not very effective, or not effective at all.
Jules points out that X and Y didn't actually show how effective a move is in the GUI for selecting attacks, and that actually started in Generation 7. I've got no excuse for this one, I was just playing wrong, and also I forgot. And then, TWJon had a few things to say.
You can actually me this, because you can technically gather Ash on Jagged Pass, but the route you gather Ash on, Route 113, is not climbing Mount Chimney, it's north of it, and all the ash is just blowing over them. You also said you could get all the Johto and Hoenn Pokemon on the Sevi Islands. You could get like 4.
I don't think I said all of them.
You did. You could get
I just said like that was a way to get them, not like all of them.
You get almost nothing on the Sevi Islands. It sucks, except Unknown. It's the only way to get Unknown in Gen 3. The big one I think you got wrong was you said that the Iwata story where he had to make a new storage method was so they could fit all the Pokemon in Gen 3. There are over 65,000 slots in Gen 3. I can verify this personally from having RomHack does games. It does not have issues with storing Pokemon. That story was about the maps in Gen 2 fitting both Kanto and Johto in. Which is why, if you look at Kanto in the Gen 2, in the actual Gen 2 games with Sword Gold and Soul Silver, there's a lot less going on. That's what he made the compression algorithm for, was to fit all the maps in. It's not a Gen 3 thing. That was like the big one that stood out to me.
And now for the things people pointed out that I have missed.
You never mentioned that you could use to be able to put items in the PC, and then how Gen 4 made it so you could carry all of the items in your bag and there was no limit on how many you could have. Like in Gen 1 you only had 1 bag pockets, but you could put up like passive stuff like the Sylph Scope and then you wouldn't be able to see ghost types anymore. My biggest grief with Gen 2 is the Pokemon variety. It sucks ass. If you play that game coming off of Gen 1, it's so annoying because the whole first half of that game is like you're seeing Pidgeys, Weedles, Caterpies, Rattatas. Like, it never stops. You get to Union Cave and you're like, oh wow, Bellsprout's here now. And that's like the second gym? Oh great, we've got unknowns by now.
Spinnerack?
Oh, the time capsule. Like trading to previous generations.
It
I don't know
looks
if the time
darker.
capsule really bears mentioning, but like everyone who does any kind of Pokemon SE is always like, I did Gen 3, you couldn't even bring Pokemon from the older two. Real. There was the thing in Gen 2 where like Pokemon would just randomly flee. I know Fanpy does that in Crystal, it's so annoying trying to catch them at the beginning of the video, just run turn 1. Another thing that like, I don't know, might have borne mentioning was the events. Remember back in like Gen 3 and 4, you would like get a ticket to go to a place. And I kind of did it in Gen 2 with the Celebi and Island Forest.
Oh
and
yeah, I
like,
completely forgot about mentioning events.
You just get the Pokemon and that's it.
There are things like the shiny legendary dogs. And then if you like transfer them over to Black and White, like you got them in Heart Gold Soul Silver, if you transfer them over to Black and White, you would get a Zoroark, I think.
There was also that Celebi one where you go back in time and fight Giovanni.
Oh, I did do that in Heart Gold Soul Silver. That was cool.
Yeah, they just like don't do that kind of shit anymore. Now you just go to a Pokemon and it's like, I heard a ghost story about Hoopa. Whoa! Watch the movie, fucker. Also, you didn't mention Coliseum and XD. I know people nowadays consider them not canon, but like...
It's not that they're not canon, it's that they're not the mainline Pokemon games.
Everyone, at the time, they were considered that. It's just been like retroactively people...
Good luck on that.
My next line just says Gen 4 Pokemon contests suck balls, and that it
Heard emoji
Gen 4
moment.
introduced crappy sound design. And Cynthia's cringe and not scary at all. Also, the follower trainers were cool and I liked them, and they should come back. Especially in Platinum when you got to fight them all and they were just like cool trainers. But you didn't mention Hidden Grottos. That was a cool Gen 5 thing that has nothing to do with the Pokemon formula.
Yeah, I also forgot to mention Hidden Grottos.
Yeah, they never came back.
That's kind of how forgettable they were, I guess.
White version, cringe. Imagine not picking Reshiram.
It's not like I had a choice in the matter. I was not the one buying the games.
Should've gone black.
My brother got black. My older brother got black because he's older and had dibs.
The like underwater tunnel, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was cool. That was like black 2 white 2 only, so.
And the Black and White 2 also introduced achievements, which I know were
Yeah.
also in 6, but they were only on the website, so very few people knew about them, and they probably don't exist anymore.
Yeah, but then also like they only existed in black and white 2 and 6, but like not really.
I think, I mean, they might have been in 7 as well. I just didn't check by that point because I didn't care anymore.
A lot of them had to do with a lot of like multiplayer stuff, so. Again, did not engage. And lastly, my favorite comment that I saw from Ralph Weitz. I'm currently watching the video and it is excellent so far until you reach the Gen 6 where you said to grab a bite and I realized my pasta is burning. So now's the point in the video where I say, if you're cooking your pasta, go check up on it. I don't want to be the cause of your pasta burning. What a spectacular comment. And that's it. I'm sure more incorrect details will come out eventually, and if there's enough to warrant a video, I'll be sure to do another one. Stay tuned for more episodes because next time I'll be discussing HMs and field moves.